no, might be in your script, I can't remember, but
I,
after we review all the green ones, you read each one by name. Thank you.
we are now live, by the way, Lisa.
Good morning. This is a public meeting of the Indiana Arts Commission Advisory Review Panel, convened to review the FY22 Arts Organization Support Grant Program applications for Region 7. I'm Lisa Abbott, Indiana Arts Commission Commissioner from Indianapolis, and today's Wednesday, April 28th, 2021. We're meeting online and streaming live for applicants and the public to observe. There's no contact between the panel and the audience about the disposition of applicants before, during, or after the panel meeting. This meeting will be recorded and made available upon request. At this time, I'll individually invite each of the panelists and then staff to introduce themselves. Panelists will state their name, occupation, and where they're from in the state, and staff will state their title and role. So let's start with the panel. I'll start by introducing each of you by your first name so you can share a little bit about yourself. Joy, we'll begin with you.
She's on mute.
Oh, thank you. Good morning. My name is Joy Rogers. I am in clinical research. I work for the IU School of Medicine, and I am from Indianapolis.
Thank you, Joy. And Matt. I believe you're on mute as well, Matt.
Sorry about that. Good morning, everyone. My name is Matt Rao, and I run the Wrights Home Museum in Evansville.
Thank you, Matt. And Lauren.
Good morning. My name is Lauren Peterson, Senior Director of Community Engagement for the Mind Trust, and a lifelong Indianapolis resident.
Thank you, Lauren. Now let's move on to staff. Please provide your name, your title, and your role. Stephanie, we'll begin with you.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Haynes with the Indiana Arts Commission, and I am the grants manager for Region 7, Central Indiana.
Thank you, Stephanie. Maya?
Hi, all. I am Maya Michelson. I'm Deputy Director of the Indiana Arts Commission.
Thank you, Maya. And Ben?
Hi, I'm Benjamin Thomas. I'm the Indiana Arts Commission intern and the technical support for this panel.
Thank you, Ben. At this time, I'd like to invite Maya Michelson to say a few words.
Thanks, Lisa. Before the review begins, I want to share a few words on behalf of the Indiana Arts Commission. First and foremost, thank you, panelists and facilitator, for sharing your time and expertise today. You have done a lot for us. You have participated in specialized training to prepare for this work, which includes how to reduce implicit bias in the review process. And you've spent many hours reviewing these applications, lending your expertise to assure a high quality process for the field. To everyone here and to everyone who may be listening in on YouTube, we want to say a few words about why this year's panel process is different. If you're a longtime panel process observer, you'll figure that out pretty fast. We've been very clear from the beginning of this upcoming grant cycle in our guidelines, our application, and in the training we've been providing, that our focus is on what's important and most important right now, which is to responsibly support arts organizations at this critical time. And for this grant cycle, the FY22 grant cycle, that means supporting organizations that demonstrate they are operating and will continue to operate during the FY22 grant period. And as a result of those changes, you may hear very little dialogue and feedback around individual grant applicants. That in no way reflects a lack of dedication to a thorough evaluation process. It's merely a reflection of this unique time and the unique process that we're in for this year's grant cycle. So again, thank you so much. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, facilitators. Thank you, applicants, for all that you do for the arts in Indiana.
Thank you, Maya. Now we'll begin the panel review, and I'll explain how this process will work. The panel will first review the application pool for operating support. and then for merit award consideration. Each of those has a distinct process. For both processes, if a panelist has a conflict of interest, that panelist will be placed on hold while the application is reviewed. However, there are no conflicts of interest on this particular panel. Let me first go over the review process for operating support. In this process, panelists will be coming to consensus. They will use a summary sheet that has the results of their individual pre-panel assessments, which were based, as Maya told us, on organizational resiliency. The panel will come to consensus for each application to make one of the following recommendations to the Indiana Arts Commission. Yes, recommend for funding the application as is. No, do not recommend funding the application. Or yes, recommend funding the application with required modifications. The required modifications will be determined by the panel. This means that IAC and partners will follow up with the applicants after the panel to collect information and ensure that the panelists' concerns are addressed. Once a decision has been made for each application, the staff will record the decision. Once the review for operating support is complete, we'll move to the merit process. But first, we'll take a little break. For the merit review process, all applicants that elected to submit for merit consideration were assigned a reader. And today the panel will use the reader process to discuss those applications. Because of the competitiveness of this program, those applications whose average score ranked in the top 10 from the pre-assessment will be discussed today. The reader will provide their assessment of the application based upon the evaluation criteria. Panelists, please note there's no need to provide a recap of what was submitted since everyone has read it. Just provide your comments. After the first reader is finished, I'll open the discussion for final comments. And in the interest of time, we're only looking for new, additional, or opposing viewpoints. Once the application has been reviewed by the full panel, we ask the panelists to update their scores in the online system. It's common for scores to change as a result of this broader discussion. These scores will save automatically. All right, any questions from anyone before we get started here? All right, let's begin then. On the screen is the list of applications that will be reviewed today. They're in alphabetical order. To begin the review for operating support panelists, please draw your attention to your resiliency assessment summary sheet. We'll start our review in batches where there's consensus. Panelists, I want to draw your attention to the rows in green on your summary sheet. These are where you have consensus to recommend the applications for funding. So please take a moment to review the list that's highlighted in green. Do you have any concerns about recommending any of these applications in green for funding? I'll give you just a moment. Hearing no concerns, does the panel agree to recommend these applications for funding? If yes, you can give me a digital or a physical thumbs up.
Yeah.
Terrific. Staff, please take note, we have consensus. Panelists recommend the following applications for funding: Buck Creek Players, Christian Youth Theater Indianapolis Incorporated, Festival Music Society, Footlite Musicals Incorporated, Hancock County Children's Choir Limited, Iibada Dance Company, Indiana Ballet Conservatory, Indiana Performing Arts Center Theater Company, Indiana Wind Symphony, Indianapolis Baroque Orchestra Incorporated, Indie Baroque Music Incorporated, Indianapolis Men's Chorus, and Indianapolis Shakespeare Company. Great, we are making progress. Next, we're going to look at our applications. And here, the majority of the panelists said yes, recommend for funding, but a few either didn't recommend it or said yes with modifications. So we're going to take a look at each one of these individually, beginning with the Carmel Community Players Incorporated. And I'll just kind of open the floor for conversation here to see if the panel recommends funding or any modifications for Carmel Community Players Incorporated. And just a reminder too, to take yourself off of mute if you'd like to comment.
I had recommended funding with modification. I would like to know more about how they're advancing their art form, how they're engaging the community, and their plan for ensuring survival.
Thank you for that. Other panelists, do you share this concern? Have any additional concerns? The one that's been raised is a suggested modification on this application to demonstrate how the organization is engaging the community for long-term stability.
I think that my concern with this application was, I think they talked about the possibility of renting. I think they don't currently have a space, and they talked about the possibility of renting a new space, and that maybe they were going to sign a lease in April. And I wonder if that has happened, and if at this time they have a new space that they are going to begin doing their productions out of, or is there a really firm plan that will be happening in the next few months? That seemed to be a major hurdle for them to overcome, to survive, to have a space to work in.
Thank you, Matt. So an additional modification requested here, clarification on whether the new space rental has been secured, and just some confirmation on details regarding that aspect of the application. Okay. So panel, do you does the panel recommend funding with these two required modifications cited by the panel? Again, this is for Carmel Community Players Incorporated.
I do recommend funding them if they are able to provide some clarity about their plan to have a new space. Yes.
Okay. And I should have said this, by thumbs up, either digitally or physically, if you would indicate.
I'm sorry to step in here. I wanted
Sure.
to ask the panel I've noticed in some of the notes, there is a note about the expenses. Does anyone want to discuss that before we finalize our decision?
Thank you, Stephanie. Any conversation on that topic? Okay, hearing none, I'll ask for each of you to indicate digitally or physically with a thumbs up, whether you recommend funding with the recommended modifications. Again, those were clarification on how the organization is engaging the community for long-term viability, and then clarification of details regarding the new space rental. Panelists, if you would give me a thumbs up or otherwise. Thank you very much. Staff, please take note, we have consensus. Panelists recommend the Carmel Community Players Incorporated for funding with the recommended modifications. Okay, the next organization is Central Indiana Dance Ensemble, and would like to open the floor for any conversation around this organization.
I would like to see more, a little bit more explanation of their financials. I see there's a projection to be in the red this year, and there was also a deficit last year. So I just like a little bit more clarity or a little bit more information about their financials.
Thank you, Joy. So what I'm hearing there is a requested modification on this one for more details on the financial statement.
Yes.
Okay. Other panelists, do you share this concern or have any additional concerns? Okay. All right. Does the panel then recommend that the Central Indiana Dance Ensemble be funded with this required modification for additional details on the financials? Is there a recommendation to move this organization forward? Please indicate by thumbs up or otherwise. All right, thank you very much. Staff, please note that we have consensus. Panelists recommend the following application, Central Indiana Dance Ensemble, for funding with a modification for additional details on the financial statement. Next organization to review is Freetown Village Incorporated. And here with this one, I'll open the floor as well for any conversation about this application. Any requested modifications or areas of concern from the panelists?
Hi, Lisa. I would recommend funding with modifications with regards to the financial statement.
Thank you, Lauren. Any specific areas or just more details about the financial statement?
More details.
Okay, thank you for that. How about the other panelists? Do you share this concern? Have any additional concerns? All right.
I'm good with that, to move them forward with that modification, yes.
Thank you, Matt. So as it concerns this Freetown Village Incorporated, does the panel recommend that it be funded with this required modification of additional details on the financial statement? Please indicate with a thumbs up for consensus. Thank you very much. Staff, do you have record of this modification? Terrific. We have consensus for Freetown Village Incorporated with that modification. Next up is Hendricks Civic Theater. And I'll open the conversation once again to the panel for any conversation, to voice any concerns regarding this application for funding.
I thought that in reading this, it's not clear if they're still providing their services now. When I looked at their website, it's advertising some shows from last May. And I did find that their financials were difficult to sort through because there were 77 pages. And it was just really a lot to have to try to make some sort of sense of the financials that they provided. Are they delivering services now?
Okay, thank you, Matt.
And do they have a plan to be delivering services at within the next 18 months? I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you. So what I'm hearing, Matt, is that we'd like some clarification on whether or not the Hendricks Civic Theater is currently offering services, have plans to offer services in the future, and perhaps recommended update to the website that would help with that clarification, as well as some clarification and perhaps brevity on the financial statement. Did I capture that accurately, Matt? Okay, thank
Yes.
you. Other panelists, are you in agreement? Do you have other concerns that you might want to raise?
I agree with Matt.
Thank you, Joy.
I as well. For me, it was the financials and all the paperwork. Hard to understand.
Okay. Thank you for that valuable input. So as regarding the Hendricks Civic Theater, does the panel recommend that it be funded with these required modifications on the financial statements, and really clarifying, is the organization currently offering services and planning to do so in the future, and publicizing that accurately? If you would please indicate with a thumbs up or otherwise. All right, thank you very much. Staff, do you have record of those modifications? And if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up just to let me know, that would be great, to ensure that I'm sorry, from staff, to make sure that you have those modifications. That's really helpful. Thank you so much. Okay, great. We have consensus and recommend application for funding for the Hendricks Civic Theater with those modifications. The next one too is out of Hendricks County, the Hendricks Symphony Society. And welcome any input from the panelists regarding this application for funding.
I would like to see more concrete information about their reopening plan and how they're going to ensure survival. I'm also curious as if an exception could be made to their bylaws to allow the board to meet and vote remotely.
I also made a note about, they did say that they haven't met in the last year, and they provided an explanation for that. But I also thought that, in such dire times, that surely their bylaws could have been amended, and they could have meetings by Zoom or something to resume their planning. That was concerning.
Thank you both. Any additional input on Hendricks Symphony Society? What I've heard so far is requested modifications, providing details on a reopening plan for the organization, and recommending a modification to the bylaws to permit a remote voting opportunity for the board.
And I'm going to reword that just a little, I'm sorry, to say that we would ask if they plan to meet as a board in the future. And those,
okay.
Yeah, and our suggestion is yes, thank you.
Clarification on whether or not the board plans to meet in the future. Okay, so given those modifications, does the panel recommend that the Hendricks Symphony Society be funded, again, with these modifications that you've cited? And if you would please indicate with a thumbs up how you'd like to weigh in on consensus. Thank you. And staff, you have record of this modification. Please take note. We have consensus. Panelists recommend the Hendricks Symphony Society for funding with the recommended modifications. The last organization that we have up here for review this morning is the Indiana Writers Center. And open the floor to the panel for any discussion on this organization. Any modifications you would request or any concerns to raise? Okay, just wanted to give everybody ample opportunity to weigh in here. Hearing none, does the panel recommend funding for the Indiana Writers Center? If you would please indicate with a thumbs up. Thank you very much. And no modifications to note on this one. Staff, please take note that we have recommended funding from the panel for Indiana Writers Center. Okay. And I think I misspoke here, Stephanie. I think we have more on the list. Am I right about that? We still need to go through. Do we have more on the list here? I just want to make sure I have this.
No, that looked like the last one to me.
Okay, thank you. It looks like somehow I duplicated things in my format. So thanks for clarifying that for me. All right, well, congratulations, panel. You've gotten through the first part of the review process, and we are going to adjourn here for a short break, just to give us a moment to pause before we begin the merit award consideration. So with that, we'll be back in 5 minutes. I have the time at 10:27-ish. We'll reconvene here 5 minutes from now. Thank you, everyone. All right, I'll welcome everyone back to our digital meeting room here. And pause for just a moment to ensure that we have everyone on board. Fantastic. Welcome back. Let's move to the merit award consideration next. And as a reminder, this is a different process. In this process, unlike the previous one, panelists will provide their assessment of the application's merit award submission and update their scores based upon the discussion. So panelists, please refer to the merit award consideration list. And we'll begin with the application from Buck Creek Players. And the reader for this one is Joy. Joy, would you like to share your assessment with us, please?
Sure. So overall, I thought that the Buck Creek Players had a very strong application. Some of the things that stuck out to me, they had some very creative ways of delivering their in-person and virtual shows. I think one show they actually used 3 flatbed trailers and mobile sound equipment. I thought too that they did note that 84% of Franklin Township, which is where they're based, is white. So there is a bit of a challenge of achieving their mission of equity and inclusion, but I think that's a good thing to acknowledge and recognize. They've got some strong partnerships in their community, the Alzheimer's Association and Sycamore Services. So they allow those with disabilities and dementia and their families to come and view the shows. And then they're providing opportunities to youth as well. Some of them can attend the shows at little to no cost, and they also have the junior board to get the younger folks involved. So I thought that overall, they're doing a great job in kind of adapting to the times and still providing services. And they're also making an effort to serve the underserved communities in their area.
Thank you so much, Joy. Any new, additional, or opposing comments from the other panelists on Buck Creek Players? All right, hearing none, please finalize your scores, panelists, and update your online comments. I'll give you just a moment to do that. The next organization is Central Indiana Dance Ensemble, and Matt, you were the reader on this one.
One moment, let me get theirs open, please.
Yeah, no problem.
This was a very strong application from a well-established organization. And I put in my comments about their merit award that I was very pleased to see how much that they have continued to advance their art form, ballet, by adapting their performances during the pandemic to virtual performances and socially distanced performances, and that they, that's good for those dancers, but they also were able to continue to expose students to dance performances who probably have very little opportunity to do that. And I was real pleased with their merit answers, the responses that they gave.
Thank you, Matt. Other panelists, any new, additional, or opposing comments? Okay, great. Please take a moment to finalize your scores and update your online comments. And again, I'll give you just a second to do that. Next up for merit award consideration is the Christian Youth Theater Indianapolis Incorporated. And Lauren was the reader on this one. Lauren, would you share a little bit more, please? And just a reminder to unmute yourself. No worries.
There we go. I couldn't get to my mute button for some reason. All right.
It's all good. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me, I really enjoyed reading about the work that they are doing, the Christian Youth Theater. One of the things I really liked is that their innovativeness in how to remain in contact with their students as well as families. They did it through surveying their members, and they're surveying everyone that had participated in their programming just to get a sense of some of the things that they knew they needed to do and either change or remain the same. The other piece with this is that they really spoke with their students. And so they listened to them. They took into consideration the new normal from some of their students and how to accomplish what they needed to do. I just thought overall it's a really good organization that focuses a lot on partnerships and forming new partnerships, as well as working closely with the students in their program.
Great. Thank you so much, Lauren. Other panelists, do you have any other comments to add to Lauren's
I thought
summaries?
that they demonstrated very well the way that they delivered their services during the pandemic, and I appreciate their emphasis on making everyone feel welcome. And they also mentioned some things that they had done to accommodate. They gave as an example some kids that might be on the spectrum and how they're able to be accommodated into the performances. And it sounds like they did a really good job of coming through during the pandemic.
Thank you, Matt. All right. Unless we have any other comments, I'll give you a moment, panelists, to finalize your scores for this organization and update your online comments. And just a reminder also to save. Let me know if you need any more time. All right, Matt, you were also the reader for Freetown Village Incorporated. If you would please share your comments on that application, please.
I thought that this organization demonstrated well that they continued to offer their programming by adapting it to electronic formats during the pandemic and even now going forward. And that they also made an effort, this is a history interpretation organization, and they also made an effort to include current events and current things that are going on in some of their programming.
Thank you, Matt. Any additional comments, new ideas, opposing ideas on Freetown Village Incorporated? Okay, same thing here. Please finalize your scores and update your online comments. And we'll move on then to Hancock County Children's Choir Limited. Lauren was our reader for this organization. Lauren?
Okay. Okay. Hancock County Children's Choir was very adaptive during the pandemic. I really liked how they put together a theme that focused on purpose and vision, and I really enjoyed reading their merit award because they also made it, excuse me, you guys, made it available for local but yet affordable for students to be involved. And it looks as though they were very, very diligent in growing their membership even pre-COVID. Let's see, they were resilient and making sure that they did have a plan in place. They were, here again, innovative virtually when it came to productions and audition for productions. The leadership listened to their students and families, which is amazing in itself. And then they, through being innovative, they decided to do auditions. They held them outdoors to make sure that they were able to keep going during this time. Yes.
Thank you, Lauren, so much for that overview. Any additional comments from the other panelists?
It's really nice to see that they provided musical training, formal musical training, sight singing, and things like that virtually to kids in rural areas that probably have little opportunity for that. So I thought that was really nice to see.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah.
All right. Unless there are any other comments, please take a moment to finalize your scores and update your online comments. And moving right along here, we're taking a look now at the Iibada Dance Company. And Matt was our reader on this particular organization. I'll give you a moment to pull that up, Matt, and we look forward to your comments.
I was pleased to see that they offered a virtual dance class to 35 students during the pandemic, and they seem to have really strong ties to the schools in the targeted areas to recruit participants into their dance programming. I wonder what their timeline is for resuming their programming fully, but they have certainly done well during the pandemic.
All right, thank you, Matt. Any additional comments or input from the other panelists? Okay. Please take a moment to finalize your scores and update your online comments. Hit save. And we're working our way right through this list here. Next up is the Indiana Ballet Conservatory, and Lauren is our reader for this organization. Lauren, what comments do you have for us on this one? We appreciate the panelists' agility here. We're balancing a lot of digital things, so it's okay if you need a moment to open that file. I think, Lauren, you're on mute. It's okay.
The
There
last
you go.
the last three, I'm clicking on the button, the Zoom button, and I
Okay.
can't get to it. I apologize, everybody. But the Indiana Ballet Conservatory, I think is doing tremendous work. I think they're doing tremendous work here again and being innovative. It looks as though they had students that actually moved to Indiana to train with their world-renowned professionals. They continued conducting live online classes, which I can only imagine, just so that they can, you know, maintain some consistent instructions with their students. They also implemented quite a few virtual options, which would give the community and families and students and supporters an idea to share updates and engage in planning. Let's see here. They continue to hold outdoor events throughout the pandemic. Let's see. I like the fact that they also, and this is engaging in the community as a whole for either underserved or just students in general. They gave away hundreds of free tickets for live performance of the Nutcracker to certain organizations where students normally more than likely would not be able to attend. So I do believe that was amazing on their part.
Thank you, Lauren, for all those comments. Other panelists, any additional comments? Okay. Please take a moment to finalize your scores and update your online comments. And Joy, you reviewed the Indiana Performing Arts Center Theater Company. If you would please share your comments on that organization.
Yeah, so I thought this organization had a very strong application. I really liked seeing their organized response to the pandemic. It seems like they restructured in a financial and an organizational way. They did some budget cuts. They retained their key leadership, and then they also obtained funding from several federal sources. They had a nice mix of in-person and virtual offerings. And they have partnerships with several constituencies. I thought that was pretty cool. They've got educators, the church community, parents, and other community-based organizations. So it seems like they're doing a lot in the community to keep the organization running and to keep providing the services.
Thank you, Joy. Other panelists, any other comments or input on this organization? All right, if you would, finalize your scores, update your online comments and save them. And the next organization is the Indiana Writers Center. Matt, you were the reader on this organization. If you'll please share your comments.
My comments about their merit award consideration are that this is a unique program for writers in Indiana. Maybe that's not my thing, but I'm not aware of a lot of programs that are similar to this one. And I like what they say about their commitment to amplifying voices that are often unheard. Their online programming sounds like it's really taken off after they surveyed the participants, and their programming and partnerships are very strong and with very well established partners such as the Marion County Public Library, and they do a good job. I thought they did a good job in the addressing the things that are the merit award considerations.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much, Matt. Other panelists, any other comments on the Indiana Writers Center?
I think it's great too how they're offering scholarships. They were able to award 20 there to those with financial need, those with disabilities, and minority writers. So I thought that was pretty cool as well.
Thank you for all of this input. Unless there's additional input, please take a moment to finalize your scores for Indiana Writers Center and update your online comments. And then we're ready for the last organization that we're reviewing for merit application. And Joy, you're going to take us home here with the Indianapolis Men's Chorus. Would you share your comments there, please?
Yes. So I thought it was pretty cool how they're working with Indie Pride and Indie French to kind of, I guess, alter, tailor their performances for those audiences. I would like to know more about their work with underserved communities. I didn't see too much of that in their application, but overall, I do think they've done a great job in adapting to the pandemic. They've got several offerings available on YouTube, and they're working with some pretty big groups in the community. So that is pretty cool.
Thank you, Joy. Other comments from the other panelists? Okay, on this final organization, please take a moment to finalize your scores and update your online comments. Go ahead and save those. And with that, this concludes the Arts Organization Support Grant Panel for this morning. Applicants will be notified of the status of their grant in June of this year. And if you have any questions, please contact this region's program manager, who is Stephanie Haynes. Thank you all very much.